Y'all done went and put hidden cameras in this house to spy on detectives. So the cops ain't been doing nothing. They just been sitting around twiddling their thumbs. And I'm telling you right now, we thought this case was about JonBenét. John, when did you have time to put cameras in a closed crime scene? 30,000 pages in the investigation and grand jury doesn't want to talk to them? I'm thoroughly confused. JonBenét is now moved to the wayside. This is about John and Patsy. Okay, so somebody asked me to kind of go over this, the Detective Steve Thomas resignation letter. Hadn't heard anything about it, so I'm going to kick off our week with this. I think we have two more things from the Vanity Fair, but I don't want to say I'm going to pause it, but anyways, so here we go. This is Steve Thomas's resignation letter. Move this out of the way, and here we go. So Detective Steve Thomas, as we know, he resigned from the Boulder Police Department. And you know what's crazy is that, let me just say this, for you to completely leave your job, not because somebody like forced you out, but because you were so frustrated with everything going on, is just absolutely crazy. Not that you said, hey, you know what, just remove me from this case. You know, I'm going to go somewhere else. You just left the job completely. It's like, okay, if Boulder is a small city, where else are you going to go? Where else you go? Well, I can go to Denver or what have you. The idea that I would rather go somewhere else completely. Y'all have got, not because anybody in the police department got on my nerves, as I understand it, but because I'm so sick and tired of dealing with these people. Was it that bad? Were you dealing with a lot of nonsense that much that you said, you know what? I gotta go. I'm not doing this job anymore. I'm sick and tired of the people. So let's see. We were trying to deliver a murder case with hands tied behind our backs. That's consistent. That's what everybody's been saying. August 6th of 1998. So he's writing to Chief Beckner. This is crazy because August 6th of 98, I'll say that's about August 6th of 98. This happened in December of 96. So I'll say that's the end of year, basically January. So 97 into 98. August is about 8 months in. 8 months, I'm sorry. So about a year, a little over a year and 8 months into this investigation, and this dude is quitting his job. A year and 8 months into this investigation. This is the kind of mess. Like, it's a year and 8 months into the investigation, and all we've done is fuss and fight. Just gonna lay that out there. So Chief Beckner says on June 20. So he says, Chief Beckner, on June the 22nd, I submitted a letter to Chief Kobe requesting a leave of absence from the Boulder Police Department in response to persistent speculation as to why I chose to leave the Ramsey investigation. This letter explains more fully those reasons. Although my concerns were well known for some time, I tried to be gracious in my departure, addressing only health concerns. However, after a month of soul searching and reflection, I feel I must now set the record straight. So he leaves on, he tells Chief Kobe on June 22nd, he says, man, I got to get out of here. Health concerns, trying to be cordial, trying to be professional. But it comes out like, bruh, he goes home, talks with the family and says, you know what, after a month, I got to get up out of here. I'm sick of this. I've been there. I understand what it's like. So that means somebody must have really frustrated you. And, any job you go on, people are going to frustrate you. So, it is what it is. However, after a month of soul searching reflection, I feel I must now set the record straight. You ain't going to lie on me is what you're not going to do. You ain't going to, you're not about to make up stuff is what you're not going to do. If it's my story to tell, I'm going to tell it. So primary reason is essentially what he's saying. So the primary reason I chose to leave is my belief that the district attorney's office continues to mishandle the Ramsey case. Why is that? I had been troubled for many months with many aspects of the investigation, albeit an uphill battle of a case to begin with. Why is it an uphill battle? Straightforward, right? This is straightforward kidnapping, straightforward crime of passion, or straightforward crime of opportunity. Why from the get-go is this an uphill battle? I hope he outlines that from his perspective. Been troubled, albeit an uphill battle to begin with. It became a nearly impossible investigation because of the political alliances, philosophical differences, and professional egos that block progress in more ways and on more occasions than I can detail in this memorandum. So basically, the way that we've been feeling when we feel our hands are tied behind our backs, that's how Steve Thomas has been feeling from the very get-go. Why would a detective already feel like his hands are tied behind his back? Why would he feel that? That does not make sense. From the very get-go, we are supposed to be walking in and saying, hey, I'm here to work with you. And this is Steve Thomas supposedly talking to the family. This is what I imagine he might say. Hey, we're here to work with you. We want to help you guys. We want to find this person and move on. But Steve is saying from the very beginning, I've seen nothing but political underpinnings. I've seen nothing but philosophical differences and professional egos that got in the way, and that this is stopping me from doing my job. So, and it's too much to write. I and others voiced these concerns repeatedly. So it ain't just me. We all feel this way, right? In the interest of hoping justice would be served, we tolerated it, except for those closed door sessions when detectives protested in frustration, where fists hit the table, where detectives demanded that the right things be done. The wrong things were done. I love that part. We demanded that the right things be done, but instead the wrong things were done. Plainly, it's like straight up, and made it a matter of simple principle that I could not continue to participate as it stood with the district attorney's office. As an organization, we remained silent when we should have shouted. I mean, look, Steve, you did what you could. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes we say hindsight is 2020. Sometimes we say, oh, I wish I could have. I wish I could have. From the very beginning, you can only do what you know to do. You can't do anything else, right? I can't be like, oh, I wish I would have done that. I mean, I did what I knew to do, right? So he goes on to say, the Boulder Police Department took a handful of detectives days after the murder and handed us this case. As one of those 5 primary detectives, we tackled it for a year and a half, conducted an exhaustive investigation, followed the evidence where it led us, and were faithfully and professionally committed to this case. Although not perfect, cases rarely are. Thank you. That's all I'm saying. We are not saying that we're perfect. We're not saying that we didn't do things wrong. All we're saying is that we are trying to follow the evidence. We are trying to be exhaustive. We are trying to look at every single piece or aspect of this case, if you will allow us to do so. Faithfully and professionally committed to this case. Although not perfect, cases rarely are. During 18 months on the Ramsey investigation, my colleagues and I worked the case night and day, and in spite of tied hands, on June the 1st through the 2nd of 1998, we crunched 30,000 pages of investigation to its essence and put our cards on the table, delivering the case in a formal presentation to the district attorney's office. 30,000. Okay. So the cops ain't been doing nothing. They just been sitting around twiddling their thumbs is what I'm being told. Ain't doing nothing. Just sitting around twiddling their thumbs. Okay. 30,000 pages of the investigation. Put the cards on the table, said, this is what we're doing. This is what we're going with. This is where we want to go. So I came up in a year and a half. Okay, what's going on with this investigation? Where do we stand? No one told us anything. DA, here's everything we got. We went through 30,000 pages of this investigation. This is what we got. Okay, so it sounds like they turned over their stuff. delivering the case in a formal presentation to the DA. We stood confident in our work. Very shortly thereafter, though, the detectives who know this case better than anyone were advised by the district attorney's office that we would not be participating as grand jury advisory witnesses. That's fair. I mean, don't make sense. Seems like the grand jury would want to talk to the cops about this stuff. You know what's weird? And this is what I say is weird about the grand jury investigation. And the misunderstanding possibly that they may have had through Alex Hunter. This is my problem, because it's like you could have subpoenaed John and Patsy Ramsey. You could have subpoenaed, I don't know if they subpoenaed Fleet White. Correct me if I'm wrong. You could have done Fleet White. I think Lou Smith was mad that he didn't get subpoenaed or something like that. You could have subpoenaed every single detective. And they're like, yo, we waited to be subpoenaed. Nothing came of it. Why would a grand jury with the full scope of power not subpoena or try to talk to the detectives in the case? I mean, how are you going to know what's going on if you don't talk to the detectives in the case? Why would they not do that? 30,000 pieces of the 30,000 pages in the investigation, and grand jury doesn't want to talk to them? I'm thoroughly confused at why that would happen. Okay. The very entity with whom we shared our investigative case file to see justice sought, I felt was betraying this case. We were never afforded true prosecutorial support. There was never a consolidation of resources. All legal opportunities were not made available. How were we expected to solve this case when the district attorney's office was crippling us with their positions? I believe they were literally facilitating the escape of justice. During this investigation, consider the following. Let's talk about it. Come on. During the investigation, detectives would discover, collect, and bring evidence to the district attorney's office only to have it summarily dismissed or rationalized as insignificant. Okay. The most elementary of investigative efforts, such as obtaining telephone and credit card records, were met without support. Search warrants denied. The significant opinions of national experts were casually dismissed or ignored by the district attorney's office. Even the experienced FBI were waved aside. Is that right? Detective Steve Tom. The most elementary of efforts, such as obtaining telephone and credit card records. That ticks me off. Why? Because I was looking for telephone records. I was looking for them. You know, that's actually the first thing. A year and 8 months into the investigation, and we can't obtain telephone and credit card records. Met without support, search warrants denied. Why, as the DA, would you deny me getting a search warrant for credit card records and telephone records? Unless you're playing games. You can't find those telephone records anywhere. I don't know about the credit card records. I haven't looked. But I also guess that you can't find those either. And of course, you don't have to turn them over to us, but I'm just saying there's been a lot of speculation online as to what is in the telephone records. Obviously, somebody was like, hey, on the 23rd of December, 96, there was a call from the Ramsey's home. I think I'm still lost on that. There's a call from the Ramsey's home when Fleet White said he placed the call or something like that. But Susan Stein told the police to go away. But she didn't open the door. I think the report said she answered through the door. She said, hey, nothing to see here. everything's fine, which is weird because it's like if you're in a wealthy neighborhood, right, and you call the cops by mistake, can't you just call back and say, hey, we just called, don't send a unit, right? That also lets me know that the cops are doing their job again. But all of a sudden, you mean to tell me that with you, the cops decided to no longer do their jobs? That's all right. That's what I'm confused about. All of a sudden, the cops decided no longer to do their jobs. Okay. The most elementary of investigative efforts, such as obtaining those, were met with denial. The significant opinions of national experts. We've seen this. We know for sure. Time and time again. We saw this on the deposition. That's what we saw. We saw this on the deposition. When they were asking from Linwood, I believe, I know for sure, when they're asking about some of the people, I think, and no. Alex Hunter as well. Met with opposition for these experts because we know for sure, obviously Linwood is going to protect the Ramsey, say, these experts are trash. We're not going to listen to them. But Alex Hunter, when Darnay Hoffman was on the phone, called in and said, hey, Alex, these are, and I'm sort of paraphrasing if I remember correctly, when he was talking to him in the deposition, he said, hey, these are people that, are experts in this, and this is what they've said. Have you had a chance to take a look? And Alex Hunter was like, yeah, I had a chance to take a look, and essentially I'm looking right past it. We've looked and essentially we're not going to use it. So everything's starting to come together. You dismiss these, even the experienced FBI waved aside. There is a narrative that continues to be perpetuated by John Ramsey that the BPD did not want support. And time again, we see from the very beginning of this case, the FBI is involved, but all through the case, even here now, the BPD is continuing to refer to the FBI, continually referring to them. We went to the CBI, we went to the FBI. So at what point is this narrative that the BPD did not call on the resources of the FBI matter of fact? The BPD was like, hey, let's do some lie detector tests. And then John and Patsy Ramsey were like, no, we're not doing it because y'all don't like us. And you guys are not trying to get it true justice. Well, let's break that down for 2 seconds. What is justice? It sounds like you saying y'all not trying to look at anybody else but us. Well, John, if the finger is pointing at you, I'm not about to look. You know how asinine that is? For me to be looking somewhere else, and you sat there and took my orange juice out of the refrigerator? You know how asinine that is? For me to not blame you for taking my orange juice out of the refrigerator? Time and time again, I've watched you go into the refrigerator and take my orange juice. And I keep on telling you to stop. But yet and still, you keep going in and taking my orange juice. And at this point, I've caught you with my orange juice in your hand. And I say, you took my orange juice. Let's talk about it. And you run in the room and close the door and lock it. And I say, can you come out and can we talk about this? And you say, I'm not coming out and talking about this orange juice issue unless you stop blaming me for it. What? Why would I stop blaming you for orange juice you stole? That's what it sounds like. So you keep on saying, oh, you guys wouldn't look at anybody else. They had the FBI involved. The BPD said, let's get the FBI involved. But what the Ramseys wanted to do is they wanted to flip and finagle the cops in their own way. And I'm not just making that up. That's what they wanted to do. Okay, you don't like the word finagle. Let me take out the word finagle. They wanted, and they'll tell you this on their video. Go look at their videos. They're on the internet. Their videos when they were reporting their results. If I'm remembering correctly, they were reporting their results of their lie detector tests. And they were kind of talking about, hey, man, we were trying to get a deal going. We were trying to come to some sort of negotiations with the BPD about, how to take the lie detector test. We didn't trust the BPD, but we were willing to work out a deal with the FBI. Well, if we go back to the Vanity Fair article and we understand that the Vanity Fair article has some truth to it, at least some of the facts check out at least, then there was this essence that the Ramseys were trying to control and manipulate situations in a certain way that to their benefit, which means that they would try to say, okay, we'll do it, but on these terms. We'll come down to the police station, but with our attorney. Okay, cool. It's cool if you come down to the police station with your attorney. That's fine. Let me make that clear. It's cool if you come down to the police station with your attorney, but just know that we know that your attorney is going to be blocking everything, which is fine. We get that. What we're not trying to do when we talk about, and it's not a problem that you have an attorney or anything. We get that makes sense. But what we're not trying to do is have an attorney to play these games, right? These legal mind games of, oh, it's smart. Who can outsmart one or the other? How can I trick you and use legalese to stop you? And how can I object? And how can I do all like Linwood was doing in the deposition? We're not trying to do all that. I'm just trying to talk to you about this case. And you in here trying to act like you're in a starring role. Come on, that's what I'm saying. So we understand, even if we take out our reference to the Vanity Fair, even if we take that out, there's a lot of negotiating going on between the Ramseys. We don't have to be here. As they said in the deposition, we don't have to be here. We can leave. We're giving our time to you. You're giving your time to me. We're giving our time to you. We're allowing you to talk to us. We've agreed to stay here all day and answer all your questions. You don't think you're obligated to sit here and talk about what's going on in the murder of your daughter? Where else do you have to be? Oh, that's right. You have to be at a band concert. Please, sitting there giggling. I'm the problem. Because I laugh at stuff. But the Ramseys are in the deposition giggling. Johnson, they're laughing. Bro, your daughter's dead. What's funny? Everything's dismissed, even the experienced FBI. Those who chose not to cooperate were never compelled before a grand jury early in this case, as detectives suggested only weeks after the murder, while information and memories were fresh. Oh, Steve. Steve, you're talking to me. I love what you're talking about. Steve, I'm not even trying to be biased, but you're talking to me, Steve. Why is that? Because this is what the cops were trying to do weeks after the murder. Those who chose not to cooperate were never compelled before a grand jury early in this case, as detectives suggested, only weeks after the murder, while information and memories were fresh. So we could get ahead of all this. Weeks after the murder. I don't remember. Trying to think. I don't know. Trying to remember. I can't recall. Before we get 2-3 years down the line, let's go ahead and call this grand jury up. Why did it take so long for the grand jury, by the way? Let's go ahead and call this grand jury up so that we can get people in and so we can have a conversation about this. I don't want to hear nothing. The detectives came in and said, please, let's get these people let's get everybody we can before a grand jury so we can talk about it. Somewhere, some way. Come on, we got to dissect it. There was a delay. Why? because people like to push back and say, oh my God, can you please put yourself in these people's shoes? Sure. Let's do that. Mr. Detective, my daughter is dead. I would like to cooperate in any way possible to find this monster. I am at your service, please. The next morning, I'm calling. Hey, what's going on? Hey, just so you know, my attorney's coming down with me. We obtained counsel just for our protective purposes, but we'll be down there to answer any questions that you have. And in time, we'll be flying to Atlanta to bury my daughter. We're going to fly her to Atlanta and stuff like that. But we're happy to stay in contact with you through this difficult time. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. We are going to choose to stay out of the media at this point because there's no reason for us to be talking to the media. Access Graphics has hired people to keep things on the hush. We're not going to talk to anybody. Mr. Officer, Mr. Detective, please let us know what else you need. 28th. Hey, any news, anything that we can help you with? I've been looking around and I found this notepad and thought you guys might. I was just talking to my mom and she said she heard the person say this. Can I come down to the station, please, and talk to you? Oh, Miss Ramsey, you really got to leave the station, because, we're doing everything we can. Let me tell you something. When you are hungry to solve a case, when you're hungry to get justice as much as possible, when you are hungry, you'll do anything you can. You'll sit there for hours. When there is something that you feel somebody has done you wrong, you call up for customer service. When you want your money back, you'll stay on the phone and you really feel they've done you wrong. It's not even about the money anymore. You've done me wrong. I want my money back. Give me a manager. Oh, sir, we can't. Put me on the phone with your manager. This is what happened, so on and so forth. Don't hang up on me again. I'm going to call you right back. Oh, sir, that's so immature. We're not going to be. Hang up on me if you want to. I'm going to call you right back. I want my money because y'all are quick to take my money out of my bank account and not render services to me. I don't really care about the little $30, but you failed to render a service, something that you said that you're going to do, hold up your end of the bargain. I got to hold you to that. I can't allow you to go out here, not render services. And that's just for some money and some services rendered. How about your daughter being murdered? I'm staying on the phone all the time. I'm by the phone. I'm crying on the phone. Mr. Detective, please, can you help us find something? I'm not going to run to a different state. There's an ongoing investigation and stay in a different state. There's an ongoing investigation. Come back. Go to the funeral, bury your daughter, and come back so we can have you available. But you know what they did? The day after the funeral, listen to what I'm telling you. The funeral was on the 31st, and my God, grieving Patsy was like, there are days that I'm just stuck in bed. The first wasn't a day that you were stuck in bed. The first of the year was a day that you got up and went and talked to CNN. How crazy is that? The day after the funeral, I wouldn't want to see or talk to anyone. But here you are in front of the nation on national television, tracking down the CNN location in Atlanta, Georgia. Where you at? Let's talk. Why are you not balled up in the covers? It's weird to me. Oh, it's perfectly normal. No, it's not. You should be somewhere bawling your eyes out, not on TV. I could understand if you said, man, let's do it on the 4th or the 5th, because my mind is just, I just buried my baby girl. I can't even think straight. Next day, you out anyways. An informant for reasons of his own, came to detectives about conduct occurring inside the district attorney's office, including allegations of a plan intended only to destroy a man's career. We carefully listened. With that knowledge, the department did nothing other than alert the accused, and in the process burned the two detectives who captured that exchange on an undercover wire incidentally, who came forth with this information. One of the results of that internal whistleblowing was witnessing Detective Commander Eller, who also could not tolerate what was occurring, lose his career and his reputation undeservedly, scapegoated in a manner which only heightened my concern. It did not take much inferential reasoning to realize that any dissidents were readily silenced. In the deposition, and if you find the deposition, it's like the one that I'm referring to. If you find it online, it's like 6 hours long. The full thing, it goes through like Burke's interviews. It goes through Patsy, her deposition, and then it goes through John, and then it goes through, I think, Alex Hunter, and then I think it goes through Steve Thomas. Alex Hunter already told you that he didn't like Detective Eller. He already told you, if I'm remembering correctly, that he went to not the Daily Camera, maybe the Denver Post or Daily Camera, one of the two, and he was leaking information on Detective Eller to get Detective Eller fired. And it looks like he was successful because he didn't think Detective Eller belonged. Detective Eller don't even work for him. Detective Eller is not even in his department. How are you putting stuff out there to get this man fired and he's not even on your team? Oh, I don't like the way he's running the investigation. They don't like the way you're running the investigation. Anybody reaching over the aisle to get you fired? Shady. In a departure from protocol, police reports, physical evidence, and investigative information we shared with Ramsey defense attorneys, all of this in the district attorney's office, spirit of cooperation. I served a search warrant only to find later defense attorneys were simply given copies of the evidence it yielded. No. I gotta come back to you. Isn't this what the Vanity Fair article said? Who was asking for this information? Who was? I'll tell you. The Ramsey defense attorneys. That's who was asking for this information. In a departure from protocol. Departure. Not supposed to be doing that. Not supposed to be giving you this stuff. Who's asking for it? Police reports, physical evidence, investigative information shared with the defense attorneys. Why? Because we are trying to get, now what John ain't gonna tell you is this. What John ain't gonna mention is this part. In a departure from protocol, your attorneys were in the spirit of cooperation. That's what John ain't gonna tell you. Oh, the BPD, they ain't da. Bull crap. Get that crap out of my face. That nonsense out of my face. Boy, we done shared with you police reports and physical evidence and investigative information that we not even supposed to be sharing with you. I served a search warrant only to find later defense attorneys were simply given copies. Steve is saying I served it myself. I didn't give it to anyone. All of a sudden, though, it ended up in the hands of the Ramsey team. And I said, how is that? Hofstrom. That's what the Vanity Fair article told us. Hofstrom did that. Sir. But let's pull Hofstrom out of it. Let's just say Hofstrom didn't even do it. Let's just say that. Police reports physical evidence and investigative information. Why do you need that? I thought your attorneys were simply to protect you from violating your rights or saying something that you should not be saying. Where, please find the interview for me. Where did the cops ask the Ramseys something out of pocket? Please help me. Where, and when I say out of pocket, I mean, where did the cops start becoming accusatory to the Ramseys? And unreasonably, like, man, we're not going to look at anybody else. We're just not going to do it, because they were still taking on other tips and investigating other people. Like we said, for Christ's sakes, the people went to Thailand. The people went to Thailand. Not off of something that you told them, off of something that somebody else told them. Said, hey, there's this man in Thailand that's talking crazy. Go get him. And they did, in the interest and in the spirit of cooperation. This is what the Vanity Fair article said. And that's why I be saying, and I'm pretty sure Steve Thomas talked to Vanity Fair. If I'm reading correctly, he probably did. This is when they referred to somebody from the BPD with Anne Louise Bardock. When she referred to somebody, she'll probably talk about one of the people she was talking about was Steve Thomas. Steve probably went and told her some stuff. I'm not even gonna lie. An FBI agent whom I didn't even know, huh? Come on, talk to me. An FBI agent who I didn't even know quietly tipped me off about what the DA's office was doing behind our backs, conducting investigation. The police department was wholly conducting an investigation. The police department was wholly unaware of. Okay, so y'all doing y'all own thing. Okay, well, we got the right to do that. That's why I'm hiring people for. Okay, fine. I was not advised to speak to certain I was advised not to speak to certain witnesses, and all but dissuaded from pursuing particular investigative efforts. Polygraphs were acceptable for some subjects, but others seemed immune from such requests. Talk to me a little bit more about that, Steve. Innocent people were not cleared, publicly or otherwise, even when it was unmistakably the right thing to do, as reputations and lives were destroyed. Some in the district attorney's office to this day pursue weak, defenseless, and innocent people in shameless tactics that one couldn't believe, more bizarre if it were made up. I was told by one in the district attorney's office about being able to break a particular police officer from his resolute account of events he had witnessed. In my opinion, this was not trial preparation. This was an attempt to derail months of hard work. So you got the district attorney trying to beat up on the cops, is essentially what you're doing. Trying to beat up on the cops and tell them, don't say this, don't say that, don't do that. You know what's hard for me to believe, though? That the Ramseys had absolutely no clue that this was going on, because the Vanity Fair article told us that Hal Haddon could beat up on Alex Hunter. He could beat him in a trial with his hands tied behind his back, something like that. And Alex Hunter was like, oh, absolutely not. Nobody would ever do me like that. I have no interest in even entertaining something like that. Because our motivations aren't the same, basically. Well, it sounds like he's whipping your behind now. I mean, we ain't even the trial yet. We haven't even got the trial yet. And you trying to get the police to change what they saw, to change their account of events. Because John came back and said on the interview when he was talking to Ashley Flowers, when they asked him about the police report, he said, yeah, well, or it was It was the Netflix documentary, but I really think it was the Ashley Flowers Crime Junkie interview. And they asked him about something. He said, oh, that's one of the things that we didn't like about the police report that we didn't agree with. Oh, so sometimes you read things, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're aware of things, sometimes you're not. I was repeatedly reminded by some in the district attorney's office just how powerful and talented and resourceful particular defense attorneys were. How could decisions be made this way? How hadn't? Brian Morgan. There's evidence that was critical to the investigation that to this day has never been collected because neither search warrants nor other means were supported to do so, not to mention evidence which still sits today untested in the laboratory as differences continue about how to proceed. So basically, just like we thought, just like we said, this case is not at all about JonBenét. This case is about how much I can protect myself from being convicted. We have completely lost sight of JonBenét in this case. Period. JonBenét has nothing to do with this. We thought, and I'm telling you right now, we thought this case was about JonBenét. JonBenét is now moved to the wayside. This is about John and Patsy protecting themselves and protecting their family. That's all it's about. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you think this case is going to be solved or there's going to be some sort of deathbed confession based on this, it's not. It's not going to be it's not going to be a deathbed. Somebody's going to have to come forward and say, we did this. This is where we put it. This is how we did it. So forth and so forth. Because other than that, this ain't about JonBenét. JonBenét is a casualty. Folks not worried about that at all. While investigative efforts were rebuffed, my search warrant affidavits and attempts to gather evidence in the murder investigation of a 6-year-old child were met with refusals, and instead the suggestion that we ask the permission of the Ramseys before proceeding. And just before conducting the Ramsey interviews, I thought it inconceivable I was being I knew it. Oh, there is a consistency of language right here. I knew it. There is a consistency of language, spirit of cooperation in order to build trust. That's what I'm trying to do. That's why Linda Arndt was going over and trying to talk to Patsy and stay close to Patsy and be like, hey, girlfriend, how are you? Blah, 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 blah. That's why she was trying to do that, because they were trying to build trust, but it didn't get them anywhere. They were trying to build rapport. That didn't get them anywhere, did it? Why? Because the Ramseys weren't interested in no trust. I don't care nothing about your trust. You got the game all wrong. I'm interested in protecting myself, and you don't even know that I'm trying to do that. By the time you figure out that I'm trying to protect myself, by the time you figure out I'm trying to protect myself, I'm already down the road. I'm gone. Because it's not. When we talk again about the lawyers being involved, it's not about, hey, I just want to make sure I don't say the wrong thing. It's more like, okay, I'm going to do everything to foil anything. Because from what it looks like in this stuff, there's a foilage going on. By the time you realize you've been hoodwinked, you've been duped, They're already 10 miles down the road. And you got to speed and try to go 80 to 100 miles an hour trying to catch them. But here's the thing. They already knew they hoodwinked you. So they've been going 80 to 100 miles and they've been going 120. And you're like, hey, this is not fair. Too bad. I already knew I was going to hoodwink you, so I'm gone. These are but a few of the many examples of why I chose to leave, having to convince to plead at times to a district attorney's office to assist us in the murder of a little girl by way of the most basic of investigative requests was simply absurd when my detective partner and I had to literally hand search tens of thousands of receipts because we didn't have a search warrant to assist us. Otherwise, we did so. But we lost tremendous opportunities to make progress, to seek justice, and to know the truth. Auspicious timing and strategy could have made a difference. When the mind of the criminal justice system, when the might of the criminal justice system should have brought it all to bear, or brought all it had to bear on this investigation and didn't, we remained silent. We were trying to deliver a murder case with our hands tied behind our backs. It was difficult and our frustrations understandable. It was an assignment without a chance of success. Politics seemed to trump justice. Even outsiders quickly assessed the situation, as the FBI politely noted early on. Here, there goes the FBI again. The government isn't in charge of this investigation. As the nation watched, appropriately anticipating a fitting response to the murder of the most innocent of victims, I stood bothered as to what occurred behind the scenes. Those inside this case knew what was going on. 18 months gave us a unique perspective. We learned to ignore the campaign of misinformation in which we were said to be bumbling along or else just pursuing one or two suspects in some ruthless vendetta. Come on, talk about it, Steve. Come on, I appreciate you. Much of what appeared in the press was orchestrated by particular sources wishing to discredit the Boulder Police Department. That's what the Vanity Fair article said. We watched the media spun while we were prohibited from exercising First Amendment rights. That means we wanted to say something at the same time, but we couldn't. We wanted to exercise our right to speak, but we couldn't. As disappointment and frustration pervaded, detectives would remark one to another, if it reaches a particular point, I'm walking away. But we would always tolerate it. Just one more time. Last year, when we discovered hidden cameras inside the Ramsey house, only to realize the detectives had been unwittingly videotaped. This should have rocked the police department off its foundation. Instead, we allowed that to pass without a challenge. Oh. Let me ask you a question then. Please. And I already know your answer. I just want to ask the question so that we're all on the same page. Mr. and Miss No Security. Mr. and Miss We locked our doors, but we didn't put the alarm on. When did the hidden cameras get in the house? I already know your answer. I already know it. When? Last year, when we discovered, this is August the 7th of 1998. You know what last year would be? If we're taking that in the most literal sense, it would be August 7th of 1997. I can't do math. I gotta count. February, we're starting at the end of December. Let's just say we're in a new year. So once December passes, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Or let's just say January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. But we can't because we're not even all the way through August, so we can't fully count on. We're 7 months in. 7 months in. Let's make it 8. Let's make it 8 months. On August the 7th of 1997, if we take this literal, they discovered hidden cameras inside the house. Who put them there? I thought it was a closed crime scene. Who? The crime scene had been closed for at least 6 months. Probably 7. In December, crime scene was closed. As I understood, you guys went to your friend's house to stay, and you stayed there for 6 months. Something like that. Stayed there for 6 months. Went to a friend's house, stayed there for 6 months. Crime scene was closed. You sent your sister into go get clothes for the funeral, because apparently you couldn't go back in. So you sent your sister in. I'm assuming Pam didn't put those hidden cameras there. How did y'all get hidden cameras in that house so fast? Y'all didn't went and put hidden cameras in this house to spy on detectives. Y'all done went and put cameras in this house to spy on detectives. When did you have time to put cameras in a closed crime scene? See, people talk a lot. Oh, can you put yourself in people's shoes? Oh, can you believe? Oh, you can't really seriously believe. Yes, I can. Because these are the same people that put hidden cameras in their home to spy on detectives. Oh, they didn't do it to spy on detectives. They did it after the fact, right? They did it after the fact in a closed crime scene, right? Huh? Who put them in there? You at a catch-22 right now. Because either you put him in prior to the murder of JonBenét, or you put him in after, when the crime scene was closed. And you want me to believe that you're honest with me, and you're putting in cameras in a crime scene to spy on detectives. So not only are you asking them to give you police reports, physical evidence, investigative information, and search warrants, but you watching me. You're watching what I do and what I investigate. Somebody turned these videotapes on and went and retrieved the videotapes to watch what the cops were doing. Who's letting you in the house to go retrieve this information and change the tape? Because to my knowledge, in 1996, you got to go retrieve that tape. If the command center I don't think it was over Wi-Fi unless y'all had some high-tech operation. I would think that you just had the security cameras in the house, hidden cameras in the house. Had to put them all over the place to be able to watch these detectives, or you put them in the key places. Maybe down in the wine cellar, maybe in JonBenét's room, maybe in Burke's room, maybe in John and Patsy's room. The key places, maybe in the kitchen there, just to check and see what I'm doing. So first of all, you're already wrong in putting those hidden cameras in there unauthorized. Oh, I'm on your trail now. Because you put these cameras in here unauthorized, that is a violation. Especially in a closed crime scene. You hid these cameras. I don't care if it was the cops. The Ramseys found out about it because they were the beneficiaries of these tapes, I believe. Or the more damning theory, you already had cameras in that house when JonBenét died, and you didn't tell nobody about him, and you erased everything that was on those tapes. So by the time the detectives figured out what was going on, you remember how we just said, by the time you walk into something, you don't really know what you walked into. When you looked up and you done stepped in some mess. But by the time I figure out I'm in some mess, I'm already in some mess. Y'all done went and grabbed those tapes and kept them and deleted them. Just speculation at this point. Can't say for certain. But if them cameras was inside that house, they were either inside that house before the murder, or y'all came in and inserted those cameras after the murder. Both are a violation. Instead, we allowed that too to pass without challenge. Didn't say nothing about it. The detectives' enthusiasm became simply resigned frustration, acquiescing to that which should never be tolerated. In the media blitz, the pressure of the whole world watching important decisions seemed to be premised on how it would play publicly. Among at least a few of the detectives, there's something wrong here, became the catchphrase. We've been saying this the whole time. The detectives have been consistent in this. The police have been consistent in this the entire time. From the very beginning, there's something not right. There's something out of place. The 911 dispatcher said the same thing. The 911 dispatcher got something against you? The 911 dispatcher don't like you for some strange and odd reason? Y'all took one look at us and didn't like us. The 911 dispatcher hadn't even seen you. But the 911 dispatcher knew something was off. Officer French, you're rich, you're wealthy. Officer French comes to the house. And if y'all paying the bills of the police department with y'all money, I have no reason to suspect you of anything. Matter of fact, I got every reason to look away. But instead, Officer French showed up and said, man, there's something wrong here. Let's take a Vanity Fair out of it. He still showed up and had a problem. Whitson still showed up and had a problem. Detective Arndt still showed up and had a problem. All these detectives showed up and said, there's something wrong here. They all had a problem. I witnessed others having to make decisions which impacted their lives and careers, watched the soul searching that occurred as the ultimate questions were pondered. As it goes, evils that befall the world are not nearly so often caused by bad men as they are by good men who are silent when an opinion must be voiced. Although several good men in the police department shouted loudly behind closed doors, the organization stood deafeningly silent at what continued to occur unchallenged. Last spring, you too seemed at a loss. I was taken aback when I was reminded of He's talking to Chief Beckner. I was taken aback, and so he's talking to Chief Beckner, and he's saying, I could talk to you because you understand what's going on. Last spring, you too seemed at a loss, Chief. I was taken aback when I was reminded of what happened to Commander Eller when he stuck his neck out. When reminded how politically powerful the DA was. Ooh, so the DA doesn't want to play any political games. But everybody knows that you have political power. Come on, talk to me, Steve. When reminded of the hundreds of other cases the department had to file with this district attorney's office, and that this was but one case, and finally, when I was asked, what do you want done? The system burned down. It struck me dumb. I submitted this case about this little girl. Struck me dumb, I'm sorry. I submitted this case about this little girl, and I said, we need justice here. And y'all asked me at the DA's office, what you want me to do? Burn the system down? What is the system doing that it needs to be burned down? What's happening with the system that we need to burn it down? Why would we need to burn it down? The stuff you say to me is giving you away. But when you conceded that there were those inside the DA's office we had to simply accept as defense witnesses, and when we were reduced to simply recording our objections for documentation purposes, I knew I was not going to participate in this much longer. I believe the district attorney's office is thoroughly compromised. When we were told by one in the district attorney's office months before we had even completed our investigation that this case is not prosecutable, we shook our heads in disbelief. What are you talking about? How can we not prosecute? We haven't even done anything yet. We're still looking. A lot could have been forgiven, the lesser transgressions ignored, for the right things done. Instead, those in the district attorney's office encouraged us to allow them to work their magic, which I never fully understood. Did that magic include sharing our case file information with the defense attorneys, dragging feet in evidence collection, or believing that 2 decades of used car dealing style plea bargaining was somehow going to solve the case? Talking about hell, had right and wrong is just that. Some of these issues were not shades of gray. Decisions should have been made as such. Whether a suspect, a penniless, indigent with a public defender. I've seen that word before. Maybe it was in the OJ case. I think I saw it in the OJ case. As contrasted by my experiences in Georgia, for example, where my warrant affidavits were met with a sense of support and an obligation to the victim. Having worked with able prosecutors in other jurisdictions, having worked cases where justice was aggressively sought, I have familiarity with these prosecution professionals who hold a strong sense of justice. And then from Georgia, to the Great Lakes, and then from Georgia, the Great Lakes, the East Coast, the South, I would return to Boulder again to be thoroughly demoralized. We delayed and ignored for far too long that which was right in deference of maintaining this dysfunctional relationship with the DA's office. This wasn't a runaway train that couldn't be stopped. Some of us bit our tongues as the public was told of this renewed cooperation between the police department and the DA's office. This at the very time the detectives and those in the district attorney's office weren't even on speaking terms. The same time you had to act as a liaison between the two agencies because the detectives couldn't tolerate it. I was quite frankly surprised, as you remarked on this camaraderie, that there had not yet been a fist fight. That's what I thought. When I was reading the Vanity Fair article, I was like, yeah, it's about to come to blows. It's going beyond professional because y'all are stifling people so much that, I know I get worked up, but in the moment when we're talking, and this is right on track. You're frustrating people so much that this should just stay professional. This is business. Business is business. But this is heading outside of business. When people are about to come to blows over something like this, you done made them mad to their soul. You've affected them to their core. And that's why when they start to feel stifled and stopped and restrained, then they're going to come out swinging on you. And that's what's about to happen. I'm surprised it hadn't come to blows. Yeah, because people are getting in each other's faces and it's about to say one more thing, say something else. It's about to become a problem. For real, for real. Y'all talking crap. All right. All right, DA. Go on now. I ain't got time for it. Because now you're questioning my integrity, and they're getting mad because the cops are getting mad because they're like, you're questioning my integrity as a cop and what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to do the right thing. And I constantly have to sit here and be berated by these people on television telling a lie. And I got to sit here and take the high road and not say anything. And y'all sitting here disrespecting me. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you. And you sitting there calling me all out my name. Can't even call me a detective. Can't even respect me as an officer of the law. And all I'm trying to do is help you. I'm working days and nights away from my family for you to go on television and be like, oh, these guys are, and summarily dismiss me as incompetent. Oh, bruh. Me and you were already on bad terms. Don't let me catch you in the streets. Bro, don't disrespect me like that. I'm trying to work for you, little girl. I'm doing everything I can. All this experience that I have. I done gone to school for this. I have on-the-job training for this. For you to sit up here in my face and call me incompetent. I'm using every single police technique I have for you to sit up in my face, not doing nothing. Because people be like, oh, just in general, you're an armchair detective. Talking about people on Reddit and stuff like that. You're an armchair detective. It seems as if the Ramseys would be in the same position. For me to go through, what did it say, 30,000 pages? Am I tripping? 30,000 pages of investigation. Crunched them. I can't chat GPT. I can't Google Gemini. I can't.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Nothing, Google. I don't need you. I can't Microsoft Edge Copilot. I can't do any of that. I got to go through all 30,000 pages. That's why it's going to take me so long to do what I'm doing. It's literally going to be a labor of love with me going through all 30,000 pages. So when we talk about armchair detective, we got to also mention the people that's sitting back, not going through 30,000 pages, telling us what we not doing right. I mean, it's hard for me to understand where you coming from when I'm going through all the evidence and you ain't. By your own admission, you don't look at anything. So how would you know? But you sit here and tell me, oh, it ain't me. Look somewhere else. We're trying. There's pineapple and fruit. Whatever is in this girl's stomach, it's here. Can you tell us about it? I don't know. I don't know is not going to cut it. It's your daughter. What's going on here? In Boulder, where the politics, policies, and pervasive thoughts has held for years, a criminal justice system designed to deal with such an event was not in place. So we weren't ready for this. Steve Thomas admits it. We weren't ready for this, because we didn't understand all the underlying foundations. This was a city basically based on politics and politicking. We didn't know that. Instead, we had an institution that when needed the most buckled. The system was paralyzed. As to this day, one continues to get away with murder. Will there be an attempt at justice, a real attempt at justice? I may be among the last to find out. The department assigned me some of the most sensitive and critical assignments in the Ramsey case, including search warrants and affidavits, the Atlanta projects, the interview of the Ramseys, and many other sensitive assignments I won't mention. I crisscrossed the country conducting interviews and investigations, pursuing, there it is right there. Here we have a man telling you straight up, because the cops already told us in the most recent police update Hey, man, we've been all over the place, man. We looked through thousands of leads, tips, everything, man. We've been all over the place. And we're working, man. Steve Thomas, and that was in 2024. Steve Thomas is telling you in 1998. So guess what? Not much has changed. If I'm telling you in 1998, 2024, minus 1998, it's 26 years and beyond that we've been working this case. And I've been going across the country. I've been talking to people. I've been trying to use all of my skills, not only me, but other detectives in this with me as well. We've gone all across the country. We've sat down for interviews and investigations. We've pursued people that are on the fringes and the edges of society. Drifters chasing and discarding leads. I submitted over 250 investigative reports for this case alone. Me personally, by myself, Steve Thomas, 250 investigative reports. I sat down and wrote by myself for you to bust up in here talking about something. Oh, the cops just sitting here twiddling their fingers. Oh, the cops ain't doing nothing. Oh, the cops aren't really trying to look for anybody else. How could I write 250 investigative reports just on you alone? I got to look at somebody else. Even if it's about you, I gotta still look at somebody else and say, so-and-so referred me to the Ramseys, or so-and-so mentioned the Ramseys. I still gotta do it. Oh, y'all ain't looking at, man, I done been all across the country. And that's why these cops are mad. That's why he quit right here, because of the disrespect. Man, I done been all, see, because people like to downplay this. Oh, you're doing your job. That's what you're supposed to do. And I'm doing it. But if I'm doing my job, don't say I'm not doing my job. I'm doing my job. Don't sit here. Oh, y'all never really wanted to. No, I'm doing my job. I'm telling you. Well, what are you looking for? I'm telling you what I'm looking for. I'm looking for police reports. I'm looking for I'm looking for telephone records. I'm looking for search warrants. I'm looking for credit card records, and you're not giving them to me. Those are some of the most basic things. A search warrant. My God, it's a search warrant. Give me the search warrant. Oh no, we can't. For what? Why not? I'm telling you what I'm trying to do. I'm telling you what I've been doing. I've been going through 30,000 pages. I've been staying up day and night. I've written a bunch of, as many reports as I can till my hand falls off, for you to come in after I've spent hours, months, and years on this case. For you to, I did all of that. And that's why they're mad, because this man and other detectives have done all of this for them to walk into the DA's office and be like, hey, here, this is everything we laid out. Take a look. And for this man, for these people in the DA's office to look and be like, in 30, 45 minutes, be like, oh, not gonna go. And I'm exaggerating, but that's essentially what it feels like. I went in there and in 45 minutes, you looked at everything, all this stuff that I put in, and said, you ain't got nothing. The cops ain't got nothing. Oh, okay. So I'm starting to see a pattern here. The cops ain't got nothing after all the reports that they did, and they know how to investigate, but they ain't got nothing. The DA, y'all the only ones who know anything, because the grand jury went and they collected a bunch of stuff, but they ain't got nothing. There's nothing in what the DA said that you could use, or I'm sorry, the grand jury said that you can use, because I know that's a lie. It's a lie because y'all caught the Ramseys off guard when y'all asked them about the boots. You caught them off guard. You had them dead to rights. And then when you asked the Ramseys about the pineapple, you had them dead to rights. They stared. Why are they skating away, not answering questions? They're skating away, literally not being held accountable for these questions. You just let them, oh, we'll come back to it. No, stay right here. Answer the question. Bro, I'm writing a report on this, man. 250 reports. Man, what? These reports are like 2 to 3 pages at least a piece. Linda Arndt's report was 19 pages. I had to write and type this stuff up, man. She sat down and typed up 19 pages of what she saw and witnessed. And I'm going to hand this to the DA. That's what I'm saying. Imagine writing 250 of those and having this knowledge bank and not getting to testify in front of the grand jury to help the investigation. And handing this stuff to the DA and being like, man, Here are 250 reports that are 19 pages apiece. I hand this to you and you just kick it back out. What? Oh, you playing. And I done went all across the country and I done stayed up days and nights and lost sleep. And you gonna hit me with some bull crap talking about some, oh, y'all not really trying. Oh, y'all not really looking for other people. If we weren't looking for other people, there would be no need for us to go to Thailand. There would be no need for us to go to 17 and 19 states. That doesn't even make sense. Think about what you're saying. That's idiotic. How are we not looking for anyone else? Then why would we go to another state at all? Why would we even go to one other state? Oh, because y'all went to Georgia and y'all went to Michigan. Okay, take Georgia and Michigan out of it. 17. We're looking for the people that you told us to look for. We checked every single person in town that's on our registered offenders list. In this area, there were like 100. And you sitting here telling me that we're not even trying? We're just looking at y'all? How? If that were the case, every single tip would have come through and wouldn't even been looked at. I don't have time for nonsense. This nonsense, and that's why the cops, this why they don't let you in on the investigation. Because you act like, oh, we don't know anything. Because this is why they don't let you in, because they done already seen your games. And when your little lawyers have moved out of the way and you done spend all your money, the cops are like, And when you probably come in and you talk to them and you're like, I want to know what's going on with the investigation. Really, truly, I really and truly want to know what's going on with the investigation. The cops is like, I'm watching you because I already know your track record, because you'd be a fool to believe that Redfern, current chief of police, I believe, if I remember his name correctly, Chief Redfern, be a fool to believe that he ain't taking some of this into account. So when John roll up in there talking about, oh, we're just trying to figure out what's going on. Stand over there. Now, in the interest of trying to be cordial, I'll talk to you, but stay over there because of what you done. For 26 years, I fought you. He has most assuredly, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he went and talked to Detective Thomas and everybody that was on this case just to say, what's up? So what's your point? What happened? So we can understand, like, what are we doing? So we can triangulate here a little bit. Because I'm sick and tired of being disrespected for my work and for my professional skills. And y'all sitting here only for you to come up at the last minute, ain't done nothing, barely pick up a tab. All you come to me with is foolishness. We talking about facts. And you to come talking to me about how you disagree with some tabloid. That's what you worried about. Man, look at what they said about me in this tabloid, man. And these people, man. So what? Who cares? Sue them. That's what I'm gonna do. Because y'all had no right to tell me. Okay, fine. That's fine. But when we come over here, understand we're talking about facts. Let's talk about facts. Period. I'd be happy to assist the grand jury, but the detectives who know this case better than anyone were told they would not be allowed as grand jury advisory witnesses, as is commonplace. If a grand jury is convened, the records will be sealed and we will not witness what goes on inside such proceedings. What part of the case gets presented? What doesn't? So y'all saying, oh, y'all can't come help the grand jury. This is going to be sealed so nobody knows what's going on. A complete blind opportunity. And that's my concern with this whole grand jury process. You don't tell the grand jurors what they need to be doing. Very lightly tell them and send them on their way. So they can come back with something that you say, oh, that's nothing. And they spent a year, it's been 18 months trying to investigate this thing for them to come back. And they came up with some valuable information for them to come back and you'd be like, oh, you can't use none of this. None of this gives you a tip or a lead in any one direction or not. Okay. And then for the cops to come up and say, man, we'll work in the grand jury proceedings. Oh, you can't, it's common for you. Y'all can't even get involved. So, and by the way, when I come out of here, after they get done, I'm gonna shut it down. I'm not even gonna sign anything to just say I've seen it. I'm not even gonna tell anyone what's going on. I'm just gonna say we're not moving forward. And that's gonna be that. I'm going to let you fight it out in court over the next 13, 14 years. I'm going to let you fight it out in court and try to figure out how you can get the documents unsealed. And I'm going to let you fight for that. But I'm not going to tell you what happened. Because as the Vanity Fair article said, they've experienced enough. The Ramseys have experienced enough in the public eye, being persecuted in the public eye, under the parasol of persecution, as they said. So, DA Hunter, you the one, even though you said, according to the Vanity Fair article, even though you said, man, I'm really just letting Hofstrom run point on this. I'm not really doing anything. I'm just letting him do it. Even though you said that and you don't know what's going on, you're making all the head decisions. And I'm concerned with that, because who is telling you not to make a decision to move forward, and that there are no leads or no possibilities to move forward this case? You got the cops doing something. You got the grand jury doing something, bruh, and nobody can find anything. Man, get out of here. District Attorney Hunter's continued reference to a runaway grand jury is also puzzling. Is he afraid that he cannot control the outcome? Why would one not simply present evidence to jurors and let the jury decide? Perhaps the DA is hoping for a voluntary confession one day. What's needed, though, is an effective district attorney to conduct the inquiry, not a remorseful killer. That's what I'm saying. Just put it in front of a jury and let the jury decide. Don't be like, oh, we don't have enough evidence to prosecute. Let the jury decide. So at least you can say, oh, it's going to be a waste of taxpayer dollars. Believe me, the taxpayers want to see the outcome. Believe me, we want to see what's going on. Let us know what happened. But instead, you didn't do anything. You just let it go and just decided not to. Oh, but there wasn't enough to prosecute. So we can know, because we don't know what the jury would have said. We don't know if the jury would have came back and said, can we see more? Can we see more of this? We would like more of this explained. Can we look at this? Can we look at this? In the context of trial, if you present it right, then we might come up or happen on some other things, because we get 12 different minds who say, we're looking for more information on this. Is there a way that we can get more information on it? Now we're looking at 12 different people who have the benefit of what the cops are saying, who have the benefit, because if you can't allow the cops to come in the grand jury proceedings, then you can allow them to testify in the actual trial. So they can sit here and listen to what the cops are saying. They can listen to what the grand jury said, and they can say, okay, boom, let's listen to all. Now that we got all the information, let's go this direction, or let's go this direction. Oh, but there's a clue. There's a piece that we need. Let's look at that. Could have come up with something, but you blocked it. You didn't even give people an opportunity to do that because you didn't think you could. Man, get out of here, bro. It's not about you, but bro, that just means that what the Vanity Fair article said was true, that you knew that Hal Haddon could whoop your behind, and you just let it happen by not bringing it to trial. Are you that? Do you feel that inferior in your skill set? You've been counsel. Bro, you've been representing the DA for years now, and your skill set isn't any better to say to know how to look under a rock and pick out the information that you need on a case like this. Where's your insight? Where's your industry knowledge? You didn't use any of that. You just let it all go out the window. That is the weakest pursuit of a case that I feel like I've ever seen. That's weird. That is weak. Bro, you had plenty enough opportunity to go for this and say, okay, I'm just going to let the jury figure it out and see what we come with. If they don't, if they can't convict anybody, man, I did my job, period. Man, who lays down like that? The DA's office should be the ethical and judicial compass for the community, ensuring that justice is served or at least sought. Instead, our DA has become a spinning compass for the media. The perpetuating inference continues that justice is somehow just around the corner. I don't see that occurring as the 2-year anniversary of this murder approaches. It is my belief that the district attorney's office has effectively crippled this case. The time for intervention is now. It is difficult to imagine a more compelling situation for the appointment of an entirely independent prosecution team to be introduced into this matter, who would oversee an attempt at writing this case. So, John Ramsey, you and the cops on the same page. We need to appoint a different, entirely independent prosecutorial team. Not one that you can say, okay, it needs to be under these stipulations. Just give me another team, independent, and let's go from there. Y'all on the same page with that. Steve Thomas didn't object to that. We all want that to be the case. But you sitting there telling us that they didn't want that. Unmistakably, and worst of all, we have failed a little girl named JonBenét, 6 years old. Many good people, decent, innocent citizens are forever bound by the murder of this child. Yes, because you won't let them talk because of the grand jury proceedings. There is a tremendous obligation to them, but an infinitely greater obligation to her as she rests in a small cemetery far away from this anomaly of a place called Boulder. A distant secondhand stands the second tragedy, the failure of the system in Boulder. Ask the mistreated prosecution witnesses in this investigation who cooperated for months, who now refuse to talk until a special prosecutor is established. Ask former detectives who have quietly tendered their shields in disheartenment. Ask all those innocent people personally affected by this case who have had their lives upset because of an arbitrary label of suspect being attached. Exactly. Steve is telling you, man, look, we looked at a lot of people who are just labeled with suspect just cause. Put yourself in their shoes. Put yourself in their shoes. Understand what the Ramseys are going through. Put yourself in Jim Marino's shoes. Put yourself in these people's shoes who getting labeled. And it's like, man, come on, man. Come on. I understand y'all talking about some people, but y'all are labeling everyone. Come on. People don't even have it. There's no way they could even be involved, thought to be involved in this. But you got them in the police station, sitting there asking questions and with no attorney. And we can't even get y'all to go out there without an attorney. Ask the cops who can't speak out because they still wear a badge. The list is long. I know that to speak about brings its own issues. I know that to speak out brings its own issues. But as you also know, there are others who are as disheartened as I am, who are biting their tongues, searching their consciences. I know what may occur. I may be portrayed as frustrated, disgruntled. Exactly. Not so. I have had an exemplary and decorated 13-year career as a police officer and detective. Man, look, here we go. Because y'all sitting there talking about, oh, the cops didn't know nothing. This department was weak. This department didn't know anything about it. They're inexperienced. They never solved anything like this. 13-year career as a police officer and detective. I may not be the best. I may not be 30 years down the line. But at what point in time can I claim I know a little something? Huh? If you teach for 13 years, well, dang, I don't know as much as a 30-year vet, but man, I know something. 13 ain't 30, but 13 ain't 0 either. I know a little something, man. I know what I'm looking at. So y'all gonna give me my credit. Oh man, you just gotta understand they weren't ready. Bull crap. This man's 13 years on the force. Oh no, but they don't have a bunch of. These are detectives, man. They know how to use the tools and they're trying to use the tools the best they can. Maybe we don't have murders every single day, so we're not investigating murders every single day. But don't act like I just forgot to be a detective. I forgot how to be a detective. Get out of here with that. I didn't want to challenge the system. In no way do I wish to harm this case or subvert the long and arduous work that has been done. I only wish to speak up and ask for assistance in making a change. I want justice for a child who was killed in her home on Christmas night. This case has defined many aspects of all of our lives and will continue to do so for all of our days. My colleagues put their hearts and souls into this case, and I will take some satisfaction that it was the detective team who showed tremendous efforts and loyalties to seeking justice for this victim. Many sacrifices were made, families, marriages. In the latter months of the investigation, I was diagnosed with a disease which will require a lifetime of medication. Although my health declined, I was resolved to see this case through to a satisfactory closure. I did that on June 1 through 2, 1st through the 2nd. And on June 22nd, I requested a leave of absence without a mention of what transpired in our department since Christmas 1996. Many sacrifices were made. Families, marriages. In the latter months of the investigation, I was diagnosed and I'm going to have to be on medication. I am putting my heart and soul into this. My health is declining. And for you to come, your armchair detective behind with not looking at nothing that we doing, for you to come up here behind me, sitting here talking about, oh, y'all never looked at this and that and third. And I done stayed away from my families. We done broke off marriages and stuff like that. We done stayed away from our wives and kids. Huh? For you to come up here with this nonsense, this foolishness. My health is declining because of the stress that I'm under with this. For you to come up, no, I'll be honest with y'all. I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. I don't think y'all. Get out my face, man. What I witnessed for 2 years of my life was so fundamentally flawed. It reduced me to tears. Man at home crying because he's being restrained. Everything the badge ever meant to me was so foundationally shaken. One should never have to sell one's soul as a prerequisite to wear it. On June 26th, after leaving the investigation for the last time and leaving the city of Boulder, I wept as I drove home, removing my detective shield and placing it on the seat beside me. Later putting it in a desk drawer at home, knowing I could never put it back on. Man, I put everything into this. I put everything I could. Man. There is some consolation that a greater justice awaits the person who committed these acts, independent of this system we call justice. A greater justice awaits. Of that, at least we can be confident. As of now, as a now infamous author, Panicked in the Night, once penned, use that good Southern common sense of yours. I will do just that. Oh, because I'm really from the South. Because I'm really from the South like that. So I can use, anyways. I would do just that. Originally from a small southern town where this would have never been tolerated. If we want to talk about investigations in small towns, come on, talk, Steve. I'm from a small town. I know what it's like to investigate a murder in a small town while y'all sitting there trying to call the cops incompetent. These folks already have experience in a small town. I've been doing this for 13 years, especially in a small town where I came from. I just moved up to the big league, to the big city. I already know what it's like. And then I came back to a small town to try to do it again because I love the feeling of a small town. Originally from a southern small town, I'm really from the South like that, where this would have never been tolerated, where respect for the law and order and traditions were instilled in me. If we want to talk about good Southern common decency, Lynn Wood, come on, have some respect for the law. But yet and still, you let your client sit here and disrespect the law, but want to demand respect. You let your client sit here and call these people out their names and disrespect them and disrespect their skill set. But then you won't respect. Y'all want to get all up in arms in the deposition. And, oh, don't you just have some common decency? Have some good Southern decency, some good Southern hospitality. Have some respect for the law then. I will take that murderous authors out of context advice and use my good Southern common sense to put this case into the perspective it necessitates. A precious child was murdered. There needs to be some consequence to that. Regretfully, I tender this letter in my police career, a calling which I loved. I do this because I cannot continue to sanction by my silence what has occurred in this case. If I continue to stand here, then I'm a part of the problem. Thank you, Steve. It was never a fair playing field. The game was simply unacceptable anymore. And that's what makes this all so painful. The detectives never had a chance. If ever there were a case, and if ever there were a victim, who truly meant something to the detectives pursuing the truth, this is it. If not this case, what case? Until such time an independent prosecutor is appointed to oversee this case, I will not be a part of this. What went on was simply wrong. I recalled a favorite passage recently, Atticus Finch speaking to his daughter. Just remember that one thing does not abide by majority rule. Scout, it's your conscience. At 36 years old, I thought my life's passion as a police officer was carved in stone. I realized that although I may have to trade my badge for a carpenter's hammer, I would do so with a clear conscience. It is with a heavy heart that I offer my resignation from the Boulder Police Department in protest of this continuing travesty. Detective Steve Thomas, number 638 Detective Division, Boulder Police Department. On December 26, 1996, 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey was found murdered in her home. Colorado, sparking one of the most notorious unsolved cases in American history. Despite numerous investigations and suspects, the case remains open. This is why Steve Thomas had a problem. This is why all the cops had a problem with that foolishness that y'all were doing. The nonsense. We can see as we track the emotions. You're stifling people and you're restricting people. So it's no surprise that we feel the same way. Man, you're stifling me, man. Look, man, I'm not trying to blame anything on you. I'm just saying it feels like you're stifling me just a little bit. That's all people are saying. But that's the video. Like, share, subscribe. Hope you had a great weekend. And until next video, take it easy.